Spins a web any size, pets your dog, crazy thighs.
Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at the Bandai Tamashi Nation's SH Figuarts Spider-Man in the new red and blue suit. This is Tom Holland from No Way Home, the final scene, the final swing, if you will. Oh, you will! Delightful. It comes in this fancy little import box, clean, classy, similar to these other little boxes. Some stuff on the sides, all shots of the figure. He is this posable, this clean and sexy looking. This thing over here. You get this little bit of a window on the top to let that light in. More on the bottom, and don't forget this official little holographic sticker. You know this sucker is legit for $80. It better be. As we go, how we do, we're going to take a look at the figure's aesthetic, the articulation, the accessories it comes with, all in an effort to help you decide if it's worth parting with your hard-earned money for. Made extra sexy after a bite from an irradiated spider, Peter Parker dresses up in a garish costume and beats criminals crippled because responsibility. Taking a closer look at the figure, I think he looks fantastic. The proportions are really good here. These colors are nice. That blue is shiny. You see the arms hang to the right length. The leg lengths are about comparable here, how they should be. Nitpicks, the neck might be a little bit long. The inside of the elbow joints here is a solid red. Yeah. And of course the crotch is absolutely bananas looking on these figures. That's just how they are. Oh, and the ball joints at the wrist. That's really that's limp. Even McFarlane is doing it better there. Sometimes. Sometimes they have the terrible ball joints too. But these web lines are recessed and painted in there, and it's super clean. Am I smudging him? Am I smudging it? No. In a way that I don't even see from their, essentially import rivals, the Mafex figures. Their paint has been unforgivably sloppy lately on some releases. But this is very nice. This metallic blue thing is just gorgeous. No peg holes on the bottoms of the feet though, and you don't even get like a swappable magnet set. Either of those would be fun. The head looks super clean. It is one of two. They're very similar, just a different level of eye lens. But they are hit with a gloss. You can see there it has that nice sheen all the way around it. They didn't dig the chin all the way out like a Hasbro figure might. And you get this little bit of breakage here because there's a peg in there for a stand that it does not come with for all the money that it costs. And again, this is crazy. This is their system. This is how you recognize an SHF, really, is the way they do the crotch out of all these different pieces, And in a dynamic setting, it's not as noticeable, but I think aesthetically, this is very good. And I think also, Hasbro is the only other company that has one to compete, and it blows that one away. Of course, we'll compare them here in a little bit. Checking out the articulation, these guys are known to have some of the best in the game, and this figure I don't think really disappoints. The head is up here on a crazy little peg, their custom little deal here. You can pop that off and it's just a little dumbbell joint, ball on each end. And you get decent range out of that sucker. I feel like maybe the neck is a little bit long, but the neck is also a separate piece and socketed onto a ball down into the torso, so you get a lot of good range with those combined. Look how far that thing can look down and back. With both of those, you got to kind of make sure you're shifting all the pieces. That's kind of key with these more advanced, the builds on these figures, is you got a lot of pieces to shift, you know what I mean? A lot of great side to side, turns all the way around, of course, and there's not too much crazy gappage. Now down here at the shoulders, depending on where you swing that, there will be some crazy looking gaps, and you could practically see through some of it. The clearance is there, the way that works. But it's a Spider-Man figure, and it's almost unforgivable to give us one without a butterflying shoulder, what you would call that, you know what I mean? They will come up well past a 90 because of that. It's on a ball joint here, the way the shoulder is on that, and that's socketed into this butterfly piece that moves around inside the torso. It's not really impeded by anything, so they'll come way in like this. And again, it's the pieces you got to arrange. You rotate that right, push that up, get these into the right spots. It doesn't come back that far because the cut doesn't really extend like that. But he does have this nice tight bicep cut here that'll rotate all the way around. Worth noting, all these joints are buttery smooth out of the package. That's one of the things that it's harder to quantify, say, but just by looking at it, the differences between the imports and the domestics. In most cases, these import figures, the joints just they're just smooth, just silky smooth. And you can see the way that they do it, these pieces have a little hollow for this joint. So it just kind of slides over the top of them. And because of that, it's like you could paint that and it wouldn't rub off because they've left a little bit of clearance there. But if you do that stuff right, you bend the elbow and it doesn't break up the sculpt. Of course, again, the colors are wrong there, and that's weak for the price of the thing. Ball joints down here at the wrists, which are also weak, perfectly serviceable, and they'll technically do whatever you want, depending on the orientation. It's just pegged into there, and it's pretty tight, makes them kind of awkward to swap, but that's not really a big deal. I wish they would move away from that. Spotlight McFarlane toys, again, I know a lot of their stuff is just junk, but that Nightfall Batman and some of their newer figures, they have shaped ankle and wrist joints. They look like the sculpt, but they shift almost like a ball. But they're like rectangles. I don't know. It's really neat. That's like my favorite thing about some of those figures. He's got a diaphragm cut here at the torso, and you get a little bit of down and not really much back on that sucker. Side to side, even it's very minimal. You can twist it, but I'd be careful scratching the paint. You know what I mean? I don't have anything going on yet, but this is very nice, very shiny. Down here at the waist as well, you start to get into this mess of crotch work, you know. And this is on a ball down into it, and so it'll crunch forward some, revealing this little tramp stamp on the back there. And it'll rock back a little bit. And, you know, you gap that out some, but it's mostly in the name of articulation. A Revoltech, it is not, you know, but you do get really good range on these legs. The way these come way out here and they'll come all the way back. Other figures aren't going to quite hit that. You know, doing some side-by-sides, it is a little better than a Mafex, a little better than what other companies offer. Is it enough to make it worth all this crazy-looking stuff? It's debatable. Depends on how you have them posed, you know what I mean? You're going to have it like this. You don't even maybe notice that. You get that good range. And it's really, it's really smooth and intuitive. You almost don't have to do anything with that. But you can push some of these pieces around to make it a little less garish. But he can do these front and back splits all crazy, comes out to the side pretty well. It has an upper thigh cut here that you may have to manipulate a little to get what you want there. But even still, the shape of that, it's like it doesn't twist all the way around. You really have to force it. I don't think that's meant to. And it's got these little pieces that it's sort of, but the knees look great. They're doing that same thing where it's sort of inside there. And you articulate that sucker and it doesn't break up the sculpt so much. It looks like a knee still. And they'll come back this far. Calf cut would always be cool. More articulation for Spider-Man figures. You know what I mean? But then you have this ankle joint. It's on a ball, but they'll have some extra, this little extra covering piece coming off the foot but it'll come back that far, forward this far, and you have that little toe joint. Works pretty well. Of course, they rock side to side on that sucker. Shoot. That's just the day and age that we live in. The articulation on this, it's absolutely fantastic. I just wish they could engineer a little bit different pieces here at the wrists, maybe at the crotch, you know. It's
what it is easily one of the most posable Spider-Man figures.
Checking out the accessories, it's a decent compliment. He comes with an additional head with the eyes slightly squinted. Several extra pairs of hands. He comes equipped with the fists, comes with a pair of open hands, web shooting hands, wall crawling hands, and grabbing hands, as well as 3 web accessories, a long translucent piece here that is nicely sculpted. May have seen these before. It's got a little handle so he could stick it in the grabbing hand like he's swinging or hanging off of that. And then he comes with 2 others that are projectile units here with a little hoop that you peg the wrist through. You just stick that sucker on there like so. Here's the short one. It looks great. Works out really well. I like that. And then he also comes with this little back peg with a larger opening to accommodate other figure stands. And this little pick here to dig that back peg out. Like so. You can see there's just a little groove in it. Stick that in there, pop that out, hope it doesn't go flying. Gently. And then you just have a gaping hole in the back of your spider. Would have been cool to get a Tom Holland head and a frickin' stand, a figure stand here, but SHF's new Tom Holland Spider-Man stands 5 7/8 of an inch, or about 150 centimeters tall. So the 5'10" Spider-Man is represented pretty accurately in 1/12 scale here. Tom Holland, however, is like 5'6". Here he is with an earlier Tom Holland Spider-Man, and their recently released Toby. Some of the craziness notwithstanding, this guy's a little bit shorter. These legs are all stumpy and weird looking. I feel like these guys do like the best webline work in the game. These are sculpted, raised, and they're like black on the sides and silver on top, how it was in the movie. It's absolutely beautiful. And you know what? So is this, recessed and painted super clean. MCU, Hulk, and Loki. He seems to be scaled a little bigger than their other stuff. Next to a couple of MFX figures, the classic comic Spider-Man and Carnage. They scale great. The aesthetic is a little different. But the look of this guy means he's also a comic book Spider-Man. Come on, look at that costume. Here he is with a couple of Marvel Legends, the surprisingly solid Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and Hasbro's rendition of this very same Spider-Man on the right. If you got a bunch of the Hasbro movie villains, this guy fits in pretty decently. We got Bobby Peru and the movie-ish Venom.
Super fresh and super clean.
And we'll cap this off with a couple other imports, the Sentinel SV Peter B, and the SHF Mando Luke. Alright, but what's going on under this tunic? Real quick, let's take a closer look at the Hasbro figure. It's, way decent for a Hasbro movie Spider-Man figure, but it just looks kind of crude by comparison. Even the heavy-handed paint on the webs, which are sculpted. I mean, and that's great, but the head looks a little big. The overall proportion of the import, I think, is better. Simpler crotch scheme, and you do get solid range out of this, But it is a little stiff, and crazy out of the package, some of the joints. Speaking of, though, they actually painted half the joint right there. And that's, admittedly, they've only done that to a few figures, but that's fantastic. That just sticks out to me. That's garish. So is that, but I can't, overstate how smooth this thing is in hand to just flip and kick and twist and have just sailing through the air or dribbling between his legs, No contest. This is not a bad Legends figure, and it's only a third the price. Alright, end of the day, I think this figure really does look amazing. The attention to detail here, the colors they've chosen, this shiny blue, the overall proportions of the thing. Sure, I've got some gripes, but honestly, I don't think the crotch thing looks that bad here. Maybe it just blends a little better, but it really doesn't take much movement to obscure that anyway. And that's really easy to do. The articulation on this thing is top notch. Super smooth, does everything you'd want it to do, a little more than a lot of others. And it's all fairly intuitive. None of it feels really clunky, Be careful with the shoulders a little. The imports, of course, aren't quite as durable as domestic stuff, but he comes with a few accessories. Not too bad. I love the set of hands, but they keep recycling those web accessories, and there's no stand, so that's kind of lame. And honestly, the more time I spend with it, the more I hate these elbows, man. With everything else looking so nice, that's just disgraceful. Price point on this guy is kind of high, but it is available right now. I don't know what it's gonna do. And I don't know if this version from the final minute of that movie warrants another figure from them. But I did see the MFX was announced, and maybe, in like a year, we'll see what's up with that. But I would definitely recommend this. I can't stress enough how much fun this is to just pose around. It's crazy. Looks super good too. Thanks as always, friends. I'll see you again.